Hello and good afternoon. I'm Holly reporting to you live from Kalkine Studios, and it's lunchtime here in Sydney. That means it's time for the mid-market pulse. In today's show, we'll be looking at the overall Australian share market performance by the mid-session trade and also exploring the biggest winners and losers of the day. Then lastly, in our final segment, we'll be focusing on the stocks that have grabbed headlines today. So without further ado, let's get started. While the Australian share market edged higher in volatile trades by the afternoon, as gains in material and energy stocks offset losses in tech and AREIT companies. The equity market shrugged off weak cues from Wall Street, which ended moderately lower on Friday. As many as 10 companies are trading ex-dividend today, including some big players like Hub24, Chorus, Regis Resources, Helios, and more. The benchmark index, the ASX 200, was trading higher by 0.30% at lunchtime. The Aussie market opened high today but soon slipped in red and declined as much as 0.2%. Although the market, however, recovered quickly on the back of strong gains in index heavyweights like Sydney Airport, Aristocrat Leisure and Pilbara Minerals. On the sectoral front, 6 of 11 indices were trading in the red, while materials and energy indices extended the rally for the second straight session. The energy sector was the best performer with a 1.6% gain, followed by materials, which rose 1.2%. Among others, consumer discretionary, industrials and utilities also witnessed buying activity. Meanwhile, IT was the worst performing sector with over 1% in losses, tracking negative cues from its US counterpart. The AREIT financials and telecom sectors also remained under selling stress. Now it's time to look at some updates on the COVID-19 front. While the fresh data showed that the daily infections remain high despite an acceleration in the vaccination rate. Within the past 24 hours, New South Wales recorded 1,257 locally acquired COVID-19 cases and 7 deaths. These sky-high figures were likely the reason Premier Lynas Rare Earth had originally halted her regular 11 a.m. press conferences despite holding one this morning, when she stated that she is on the job 24/7. Meanwhile, some Sydney-siders have been paying little attention, instead hitting the beach as we've seen recently. As for Victoria, though, well, their daily count has surged to 473, the highest single daily tally of the outbreak so far. The latest vaccination figures show that 46.2% of adults have received 2 doses and 78.5% have had their first dose already. Well, back to the market now, and let's focus on the top gainers and losers by the mid-session trade. Leading the ASX pack was Sydney Airport after it received a revised takeover offer from a consortium of infrastructure funds led by IMF investors. The stock price of the airport operator traded higher by just over 5% at the mid-session. Some of the other notable gainers were gaming solution provider Aristocrat Leisure and miners Lynas Rare Earths, Pilbara Minerals and OZ Minerals as well. Meanwhile, Australia-based gold miner Chalice Mining topped the losers chart by falling a staggering 6.3%. Some of the other worst performers were tech firm Appen, law firm Omni Bridgeway, shopping centre operator Unibail Rodamco Westfield, and telecom service provider Chorus. Alright, with that said, let's shift our lens to the shares that grabbed headlines today. And first up, Qantas Airways shares skidded over 1% after the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission quashed its alliance with Japan Airlines. The authority has denied authorization for coordinated flights between Australia and Japan, citing the agreement would reduce competition to the detriment of passengers. Besides, it would also make it very difficult for other airlines to operate on routes between the two countries. And next in the news, shares of Sydney Airport jumped 5% on a takeover bid offer. the only listed Australian airport operator, has received a revised bid from a consortium of infrastructure investors valued at around $23.6 billion. The company has granted due diligence to the Sydney Aviation Alliance, a consortium led by IFM, after it upgraded its takeover offer for the company. The due diligence is expected to take 4 weeks from the entry into the non-disclosure agreement, and if the deal is completed, it would also be one of the largest takeovers in Australian corporate history. Well, with that said, it's time for a short break, but stay tuned to Kalkine TV. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
Where the property market is headed next.
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
With Kalkine TV. Hello and welcome back. You're watching the mid-market commentary in the Mid-Market Pulse. Let's now have a look at some more trending news for the day. Well, shares of oil and gas producer Cooper Energy rose over 2% after it entered into an agreement with AGL Energy. Under that agreement, Cooper will supply all developed and uncontracted volumes from Casino, Henry and Netherby fields in the Otway Basin. The pricing under contract for contracted gas supply is in the range of 6 to 8 per gigajoule. And next up, automotive aftercare and accessories company AMA Group saw its shares rising nearly 2%. The stock got a boost after the company successfully completed the institutional component of its fully underwritten entitlement offer, as well as the pricing of a $50 million offering of senior unsecured convertible notes. The capital raise will be utilised to permanently repay $72.5 million in debt facilities and a further $69.3 million to meet working capital needs. Well, moving on now, Australia's largest real estate investment trust, Waypoint REIT, shares dipped over 1%. The petrol station owner is reportedly in talks with investors to issue a new Australian dollar bond for 7 years to pay a margin of 155 basis points over swap. Westpac and National Australia Bank will jointly lead the offer. And next up, shares of pharma company Acrux entered into a trading halt pending an announcement. The US FDA has accepted for review the abbreviated new drug application for its generic version of Dapsone gel. The product is used to treat acne, which helps decrease the number and severity of acne pimples to heal more quickly, which is good news for especially teenagers out there. And next up, radiopharmaceutical company Telix Pharma has entered into a commercial distribution agreement with Bologna-based Radius for its prostate cancer investigative imaging product Ilix and the Italian market. According to the agreement, Radius will be exclusive commercial distributor of Illuccix in Italy for a period of 3 years from the national approval date. And shares of Torrens Mining rose over 5% after the miner announced positive results from its maiden drilling program at the Northwood Hill prospect. The drilling confirms highly encouraging gold systems at Northwood Hill within Mount Piper project in central Victoria. The company said the results confirmed that the high-grade gold mineralization tends to occur where faults or breccias obliquely cross-cut the tightly folded sequences. And in other news, BPM Minerals has completed the maiden drilling program at its Santigold project in Perth. The company said the chip logging has confirmed important geological features, including wide zones of sulfides, comparable to adjacent gold projects within the Santigold project area. And last but not least, gas explorer and oil and developer Red Sky Energy has received a nod to commence the slickline operations at the Killanoola oil project. The company received approval from the Government of South Australian Department for Energy and Mining to commence slickline operations at the Killanoola project in the Penola Trough, South Australia. Well, that's just about all for now in the Mid-Market Pulse, but keep watching Kalkine TV for more training updates. Holly Shields signing off.